It's 5:30 and we're going to try and accommodate Craig here and get him out as early as possible, even though we weren't invited. All right, with that, I'm calling the meeting to order. This is the May 19th, 2025 City Council Work Session for Minnetrista. Present this evening are myself, I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and council present are Peter Vickery and Brian Govern, Claudia Lacey and Kathleen Refkin will be joining us for a regular meeting, but are currently not here. And then we have Allison Fauski, our city engineer, Gary Peters, welcome back, our public works director, and Ali Paulfus, our assistant administrator, Jasper Krugel, our administrator, David Abel, our community development director, and then Chief Craig Squires. I had to get, Paul Falls was a lot easier to say. So welcome everyone, and we have two items for discussion on our work session. We're going to move ponds at Hunter's Crest to number 1, and then we're going to talk about the Red Oak neighborhood speed reduction request. So Allison.
Thank you, Mayor Whalen. Appreciate your willingness to change up the agenda. Included in your packet is a summary memo of staff's correspondence with the developer at the ponds at Hunter's Crest. The correspondence certainly dates back months before we sent out the letter. Basically, there are some items left on the warranty punch list, which is the list of items 2 years after the development improvements were installed, things that the developer should be cleaning up. And we just haven't had a response from the developer. So staff worked with the city attorney's office as far as putting them on official notice. That letter's included in your packet. And we have not heard back from the developer at this point. So we wanted to bring this item to council for discussion and direction. There is an option, as stated in the letter to the developer, that the city can go ahead and do the improvements and assess the cost back to the properties. When I provided some photos so that the council can see the extent of the work. I also wanted to offer an option to the council that city forces could do the majority of the work, the restoration specifically, and then there's a water valve that needs to be raised. But the concrete work could not be done by city forces, and we're estimating it would be around $2,500. And the extent of the concrete work is there's some sidewalk panels that are damaged where, for example, the corner would be chipped off. And then there's also some curb and gutter that's holding water. And then there's one section in particular that's in pretty poor condition around the edge of a road. So we're looking at that item that would be done outside of city forces. And just requesting council direction on how you'd like staff to proceed. Would you like us to go forward with, getting the improvements done and assessing it back to property owners? We would certainly come back to the council with that, if that's the council's desire. Or would you prefer that Public Works perform the work that they can, and then we would get a quote from a contractor to do the concrete work? And preemptively, I did talk to the contractor that's in town for this year's street improvement project, and they would be interested in providing the city a quote for that work. So we do have some options to explore if that's the direction council would like to see.
So you say assessing it back to the properties. Which properties?
Well, that's a good question, Mayor Whalen. So, certainly I would defer to the city attorney's office, but there are a couple of lots out there that are still vacant. The entity that owns them is not listed as the entity that the city entered into the development contract with. It appears there's a relationship between the two of them, but we would have to work specifically with the city attorney's office to see if that cost would be spread equally among all the properties within the development, or if the city if there would be an option to just assess it to the two vacant parcels.
I would not be in favor of assessing it to all the parcels, because those property owners, they bought their homes, they paid for their homes, they paid for their houses, etc. It is not their fault that this is a really bad developer. And I think it just would be unfair So I'd rather, if we could, if those two parcels are owned by Quadriga, or a subsidiary of Quadriga, then we should assess those two parcels.
Okay.
Or is there some other way of assessing Quadriga directly?
Well, I think part of the challenge and one of the reasons that staff wanted to bring it to council's attention is when we start looking at the cost, the administrative costs of going through with that process, if the council is comfortable with moving forward with that, knowing that, while there's a cost associated with the Public Works Department doing that work, that there, is the $2,500 estimated for concrete work comparable, like you would incur a lot of attorneys.
You're saying for the 2,500, but so we can't assess them for the work that Public Works is doing?
Well, I think you could, but I don't know what the administrative cost would be, but there would certainly be some administrative costs associated with the city doing that. And I was hoping to provide council with enough information of, is it worth spending those legal fees, engineering fees, et cetera, to get the work done, or is the cleaner option to have Public Works do the work and there's $2,500 worth of concrete work.
Plus Public Works time.
Plus, exactly, yes, thank you. Plus the time for
They're not free.
True.
If I may, we are holding a payment for a final CO escrow as well.
For
of $5,000 is what we're holding. That was the final. If you remember, there was a woman who came in here.
Yeah, right.
She got her final CO.
Right.
They have that eligible, but we've held on to that just for this reason.
But doesn't Quadriga have to reimburse her the $5,000?
No, that goes to Quadriga. So.
Oh, okay. So we could hold on to that and use that.
Yeah, the intent is to try to provide that to be an incentive for them to come in and do the work.
I don't think we can use it. We can't use it for
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
You can hold it and try to get them to the table, but
Oh,
you can't use it for that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
So we're trying to do what we can to get them to do this. I mean, we've hand delivered notices and it's just unfortunate there hasn't been a response. So we wanted council direction at this time.
Okay.
I did notice that they had a different address than the Baker Road address that's in this letter.
Yeah, so it's been there have been a number of changes of address from doing research online, even just to find out if there's a nexus between the real estate company that owns the two vacant parcels and the developer. So there's been a lot of address changes, and so that's been a challenge too. But the long and short of it is, I mean, I've been in contact. I hand delivered a notice to this developer back in September at their office on Baker Road, and they didn't respond. So it's getting to a point where we just need to resolve this. We've really tried to extend the best foot forward and trying to be cooperative with them, but when they're not responding, we need to go that next step.
And what's staff's recommendation?
Well, Mayor Whalen, I think the path of least resistance and the way to get this resolved is for Public Works to do the work and then take a look at what we can get for pricing on that concrete work.
Okay, I'm fine with that if the rest of the council is fine with it, except I want Gary, you tell us when they do this work, how much money it costs us basically in time and materials, because if it comes down to it and we have to prove that we spent X number of dollars, I want to be sure that we have those numbers.
Yeah, we'll do that with a work order through our cartograph. We'll figure everything out for us. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and do you have
everything?
Yeah, and you have the time to do this?
Sure. And it needs to get done, so we'll work it in our schedule.
Okay, all right,
That's good. Yep.
Okay.
For me.
go ahead. Govern, you're okay?
Good.
All right, and if we can somehow or other get our money from them, I think we should. They make me mad.
Yeah,
They kind of piss me off. You can strike that from the record.
and I've been, perhaps we could work with staff if we keep track of Public Works time. We'll have an invoice for concrete work you could attempt to invoice them
Yep,
for
I
the,
would.
for the charges.
Mhm.
But I think when we look at it, for the residents that are out there and some of the challenges that they've,
Yes.
some of them have faced, I think this is a wise direction to go in and try to get everything buttoned up in there. And
Yeah, I agree. I think we agree. So, all right.
all right, thank you.
Okay, next we have speed limits in Red Oak.
Madam Mayor, members of council, there was a request that the city received from the Red Oak neighborhood. Elisa Webb of Sharper Management Company mentioned a petition. I haven't seen a petition, but maybe there's one floating around out there that requested that this neighborhood, and if you're not familiar with it, you can kind of see the photo in the staff report. There's a section of that neighborhood that has been designated 20 miles an hour. And this goes back to 1969. So there's a long
But
paper
that
trail here.
neighborhood isn't part of Red Oak.
Um,
That Grandview area is not part of the Red Oak neighborhood. Just,
Sure, technically, yes. What they're saying is that people use that road to get into the neighborhood and
okay.
it's inconsistent with what's all in
Oh,
there.
okay.
So
Okay.
their request was that everything in the neighborhood in Red Oak is also 20, the same as Grandview. So that was their request. I kind of went through some of the,
Is Red Oak 20?
no, the Grandview on the south side.
Yeah, I know
That
that,
isn't
yeah.
technically part of what was
Yeah,
developed.
yeah. Okay.
That's 20. And that's where that 1969 ordinance
Mhm.
comes into play, along with a lot of other, if you ever were, this was new to me and I was interested in it because there's a lot of areas in town that are signed 20,
Only 20, yeah.
you know, so Gary has all the records and he found that out. And see, if you look at the ordinance from 1969, you can see the neighborhood. Some of them exist yet and some don't.
Some don't even, I didn't even recognize some of the roads.
Yeah, some of them, the names have been changed and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
right.
But Red Oak too, yet, or Grandview was the dead end too. It wasn't even connected
Yeah,
because
that's right.
it went to the golf course, that was
Right.
up to the golf course. So that's why it was 20.
Yeah, right.
It never went through.
It never went through. Yeah.
So there's a little history there about the 20-mile-an-hour zones.
Mhm.
I also included this Minnesota House Research Group paper on what we can do as a city. In a nutshell, if we want to reduce it from 30 to 25, we can do that via ordinance, and we can just do that unilaterally. We can't go below that. So 25 is the max. So there's no way, the request of going from 30 to 20 in the area, we just can't do.
Yeah.
But other options would be to reduce that neighborhood to 25 and maybe move the Grandview up to 25 to make them all the same.
Or just leave Grandview and make.
Or you could just leave it. And we've talked about it. I think I included some language about, have we run into speeding issues in that neighborhood? And the answer generally is no. We're not issuing citations. We're not pulling people over for speeding in there. And at the end of the day, in a neighborhood like this, it's the residents that are living there. They're the ones that would be speeding. There might be some delivery trucks, maybe. We get that once in a while. But generally, it's the people that live in the neighborhood who are driving on those roads going in and out. I guess I'd like to respond to Lisa Webb about her petition or her request. And I'll go from there. We have David and Craig and Gary here as well to answer any questions about speeds and speed limits. I just know another thing I'll point out, if we do change one neighborhood, there very well likely will be other neighborhoods. And
Well, we've already had a request from a lady over on Scott, I think. I think it was Scott.
okay, yeah. So I guess if we set a precedent of moving to 25, we'll likely get more requests for going to 25. And there's some costs with the signage that's required, things like that. So.
What are speed limits in similar new neighborhoods like Woodland Cove?
They're all 30.
Yep, they're all 30.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd just be afraid of I think there'd just be an avalanche of requests.
But is that bad? I'm just wondering. I don't know. I'm just for
Well,
discussion's sake. I don't know.
yeah, and I did send out a little report that MnDOT put together this morning. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but really in the truncated form, reducing the speed limit by 5 miles an hour doesn't make people drive any
Yeah,
slower.
it doesn't.
That's what they found with all these traffic studies that MnDOT and other communities have done. So if it's, something that you're looking for to drive change as far as habits and behaviors go, it likely won't do that.
It's enforcement that would change that, maybe.
It could if people are actually speeding.
One of the things I noticed, so I drove through there, and 30 is pretty fast to go through that neighborhood. I mean, it is, I agree. But on the other hand, like you said, enforcement is the other issue. But I also noticed there were no speed signs, period. I think you had put a temporary one out there.
Well, the temporary one was put up because they were going to put their speed indicator sign up there.
Yeah.
They hang them on there, but Brad was having trouble with it that day, and I think they sent out for repair. And I don't know if it ever got put up, but yeah, I mean that's why that temporary was put up there, because
Okay.
it was right down the street from a different one. So
Okay, so I'm wondering if we shouldn't at least sign it, the 30, so that it reminds people? I don't
you got a
know.
pretty big sign coming in for 30
is
already.
there?
I mean, there's a big sign as you come in that
I didn't see
says
it.
30 right on the pole. I mean.
Okay,
And we had the same thing when I was at Chanhassen. They had the same issues, and I know Carver County went out and ran radar and all that and issued tickets to everybody that lived in the neighborhood, because it's the neighborhood residents that are the speeders.
yeah,
They're the issue. They're the problem. They need to, I'm just going to say it wholeheartedly. I mean, my neighborhood, they go flying by my house,
yeah.
but it's the people that live farther down. It's in our neighborhood. I mean, it's just, unfortunately, don't have your kids play in the street and talk to your neighbors about slowing down. I mean, 25 isn't going to make a difference. I'm sorry. It just
No,
won't.
it won't.
Neither will 20.
Yeah, the data says that if it's 25, they're still going to go 30 or 35. It's enforcement that might make a change.
And Madam Mayor, member of councils, I would just add that our, Gary's correct, our speed sign was down, but
Okay,
we did put it up for a small portion of time, a couple of days when we got it working again. And speeds were between 22 and 17 miles per hour. So
Okay.
in that small time frame, we saw nothing egregious.
one thing that was interesting, so on Grandview, so as you leave the development, you're in there and you're going out towards Grandview. There is no speed sign for Grandview. Now coming in off of County Road, whatever, 19,
Yep.
there is a speed sign. So maybe what we need is a speed sign for 20 miles an hour on Grandview on this end. You know what I'm saying? Because there is none going that.
Yeah, we normally don't sign, a small neighborhood like that very much. I mean, Woodland Cove gets more because we have longer stretches of road
Right.
and there's more, but smaller neighborhoods like this, like South Saunders, North Saunders, there's one as you enter, and we really don't, because most
No,
of them
but
are 30 anyways, but we can put one coming the other way for 20. I mean, that's fine.
Well, I'm just wondering if you can enforce 20 miles on Grandview, if they're going whatever, east, I guess, on Grandview.
If it's,
And there's-
it's marked 20 and it's.
But it's
in there.
not marked that direction though.
I think what Mayor Whalen's saying is I think the transition from 30 to 20 as you're exiting,
Right.
that there's maybe not a sign there.
There's no
We
sign.
could put one there and we could put a 30 on the other side. I mean, across from it so that they know the neighborhood's 30. I don't know. Or leave it as 20, but we could put a 20 coming up the other way. That's not a big deal. I believe we probably have a post or something there we could put it on.
Okay, I was just wondering from a legal standpoint, if you can enforce it if there's no sign.
For the 20 mile per hour zone?
Right.
Yeah, that makes it a little more difficult because 30 is the average.
Right.
So
Maybe we should at least put a sign there.
we could, I don't know how many people are going over 20 too often through there, but certainly would make, if you have more signs, it definitely makes enforcement easier
Okay.
and stronger in court.
I mean, if it's not a huge cost.
No, I mean, I had it figured out. I don't know what it is right offhand, but what it cut our time to go out and put it in, what it costs. I mean, my guys are gonna be here anyways, but
Yeah,
made a sign. I think the posts are $40 some total, and I think the sign is 30.
okay.
So I
It
mean,
just might,
for the actual post hardware and sign, you're probably talking $100,
okay,
and then you'll have to put a locator and go out and dig it, put it in and stuff. But
okay.
it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours for two guys by the time we're all said and done. So
If nothing else, maybe people driving on going out on Grandview might see that 20-mile-an-hour sign and then think that the rest of Red Oak is 20 miles.
But you want it so as you're coming on to Grandview right before the park, where
Right.
we're transition, you
Yeah.
want another 20 right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
We'll get one in there.
okay. And it doesn't have to be immediate, but maybe in the next.
Well, we got to put a locate in. It takes
Yeah.
3-4 days for them to get everything located, and then we
Okay.
can put one in.
And is that ordinance that makes the speed limit 20, is that still valid or?
That was my question, because there's been some changes as far as the structure go, like I forget, like the highway commissioner or something like that is what they were called.
Mhm.
Now MnDOT has jurisdiction. They're grandfathered in, they're legal. At some point, somebody could challenge it if they don't like it, and maybe it'd go all the way to the Supreme Court. I don't know, but they are valid right now.
And I don't think we want to change a low speed to a higher speed if we don't have to. Then you're going to get a lot of kickback, you're going to get a lot of pushback from residents. And I think, if we know now and the police know that this might be an issue, so I think they'll probably be out a little more frequently once we have these signs posted and so on. And the speed, so Craig, does the speed sign, does that really work? I mean, do people really slow down?
They do on occasion, but the way we've been using it in issues like this is we put it in stealth mode, so the speed doesn't even come up, because then people don't notice it, so they're driving more naturally, like they would normally drive without the speed sign up.
Okay.
There are other times, of course, in areas where we will have the speed sign up where people can see how fast they're going.
driving, yeah.
But in studies like this, where we want to pull some statistics, then we tend to just do it in stealth mode, because people don't see it and then they're driving just how they would normally drive.
So there's also these things that I've seen, you've probably seen it too. We have time, and I'll let you go to your party. But so there's a speed sign, and then underneath it says what speed you're going, and sometimes it says slow down. It never says that for me. Sometimes. I think it says sometimes it says slow down. So, I mean, do those kind of signs really work?
I mean,
I'm just wondering.
It's probably it's probably subjective. I mean, our sign will start blinking at you really fast if you're going too fast, kind of going to hyper mode and whatnot. But I think generally probably not. I think the signs would.
Or maybe they just slow down for that little bit, and
then they speed up twice as fast.
There's a few studies. I know Allison's not here, but she could probably speak to those better than I can.
Yeah.
But people generally get used to them, especially if they're permanent in a neighborhood. They just start doing old habits.
Yeah.
So maybe right away they maybe change it a little bit, but after a while they kind of go back to what the normal.
A few tickets might help. So.
Yeah, but and we did run a 5-year study, and we've had very, very few traffic complaints coming from the residents up there.
Okay.
So one of the nice things with those signs is it does show from the neighborhood what the speed is, because sometimes visually you think somebody's doing 40 miles per hour, but then you see the sign and it's like, okay, they're really only doing 25. So it can fool the brain sometimes, especially coming around corners and whatnot. Cars look like they're going faster. So our sample size is pretty small, but we're not, again, seeing anything egregious speed-wise, and we're just not getting a ton of speeding complaints coming from the neighborhood.
I think it's just that there are a bunch of kids in that neighborhood and they're running around all the time. And so
That could
the parents
be,
are probably
right.
hyper sensitive to it.
Yeah.
But I think Brian's comment, then it kind of opens up a floodgate. So, yeah, all right. So we'll keep it.
The sign?
We'll do a little enforcement. We'll put up the 20-mile-an-hour sign, and hopefully things will calm down.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Wow, fast. All right. Then we can be adjourned, and we'll be back in a little over an hour and celebrate swearing in. We have 4, right?
Yes, Madam Mayor. It'll be myself, Deputy Chief Cummings, and then Sergeant Scriggs and Brown.
Yeah.
So be 4 of us. So
Good. And I'll talk to you offline, just real quick, how you want to do that. All right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 3-0. So Craig, I just wanted to ask you, so do you want to swear, we'll swear everybody in one at a time?
Yeah, that's what I'd like, just kind of a team effort where we're all up at the same time.
Oh, you want everybody up at
Yeah.
the same time?
So my idea would be to call
me.
all 4 of us up.
Yeah.
This is how we did it.
If they,
And then I think it makes for a good.
Hey, call that guy.
pass the dog park?
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. And then I was going to ask you,
Yep.
so Paul usually did a brief
Oh,
intro.
Yep.
Okay, do you want me to do your intro?
yeah,
You know what, instead of doing 4 different
perfect. Yeah, I mean, it should open up. I bet, yeah, I bet there's
I
error.
just kind of wrote a speech, if it's okay with you.
That's fine. You
Basically,
do whatever you want.
so I kind of want to bring this. to
Yeah,
those
I'm sure it
departments.
is.
So
Okay.
I talk about, as supervisors, we have 70 years.
Okay, yeah,
Department, we have 200 years. So
Okay,
yeah,
rather than-
perfect. All right, thank you.
in each individual.
All right,
And I talked to these guys a couple times and said,
Okay.
how do you want to do this? They're comfortable with that.
okay, that's good then.
So
Yeah.
it's just a short little intro I'll do.
Okay.
And then at the end, I'll just, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to ask us to come up and then I'll say, Madam Mayor, will you please do
Yeah.
the honor swearing us in?
Okay,
So
good.
if that works.
Yep.
And then I'm not sure if you have.
I have
a
that.
copy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's our supervisor
Okay.
one. And yeah, I think it'll be good. It'll be
And you're,
relatively quick.
this,
Hey,
you
Rick's
get
on
the
his way.
same
Do you
one.
want to just go out?
I will have copies.
Pick up
for
any-
No, I mean, you
Oh,
get the same oath.
Friends and then grab
It's the
that.
same oath for everybody.
Well, this one's for
Okay,
supervisors.
I got the
So,
Yeah, okay.
Just throw it
as a
back or
leader of the
something.
Minnetrista Public Safety.
Okay,
So that's just the.
Other
Oh,
than-
you're not even home yet?
Yep.
okay.
So it's.
Oh, shit, okay.
Different since we're supervisors.
I have a copy.
You do? Okay,
No,
perfect.
All right.
You need
never
this?
mind.
I
No,
have a copy.
I can, do you have a copy? Because I'll just burn a couple extras
Okay, yeah.
just in case. and
Yeah,
then I
I
can
just got
bring
done
this
with
one.
one meeting, so.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so I think it'll be good.
Sounds good. And then what?
Well,
time?
just, I mean, I don't know how much, because.
I'm gonna try
Dogs
to
are all
get
too, so
everybody
sure.
back here. What time is it now? Hopefully within a half an hour,
You don't want it, don't worry about it, it's fine.
40
I
minutes.
mean, half an hour seems like a long time.
All right, because we're flushing like a bastard.
But there could be some other folks. So when I say get everybody here.
Oh my God, we open the interconnection with Mound and it's just
Okay.
nasty.
Like this, so,
So,
I might try to get a few of
Okay.
those folks in here.
So,
I
yeah.
think we'll have a pretty
All right,
good
bye.
crowd.
Okay.
Especially with
All right.
Brown having like 10 kids. So his family alone will fill up half this place, so.
We're
Okay,
flushing.
yeah, so whenever you get here is fine.
Okay.
6:30, 6:40.
Get all that bad mound water out.
The water looks disgusting.
That could
Because
happen
obviously
too.
they can, yeah.
My goal now
Some
is
air
to.
pockets we got in there too, so.
Everybody.
Which
Some people have to
normal.
pee, so there's.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's because we back drained down from,
So.
All right.
because we're pushing
People show
from the
up.
main
Give
break
them a
up.
quick tour, then we'll head over here.
We'll just be ready for
Either drive or
water
walk.
softener calls.
Yeah.
We already got one, the faucet ain't
Like
working in
usual,
the
at about
kitchen.
7:10,
Well,
I'll be past
sure, it's got
exit.
an air gap in it.
Everybody will leave.
That's okay.
Adam calls,
You
it's
do
just,
not want to sit.
hang
and
on,
listen
just
to the audit
talk to
report.
the
Believe
HOA
me.
people,
Yeah,
told
yeah,
them, send a
exactly.
message out, don't wash any clothes tonight.
Yeah,
So,
well, good. That house fire was,
Which one now?
there was one in Mound.
well, it's in Mound though,
Yeah,
good.
and it was a small garage thing that they put out with a fire extinguisher, but while we were doing a bunch of the water stuff, having to
We opened the interconnect up and it's like nice lovely brown mound water in there. Yeah. That water's just so nasty.
I know. I don't even know how they can
Well, we
deliver
opened the
that.
interconnect up, we had the hydrant open, and when they flushed it for damn near 20 minutes, we didn't even try to even clear up enough to make it look halfway decent. It was just so nasty. Ugh.
Yeah, that's
And they pay big bucks to drink that water.
I know it. Well, their rates are darn near close to ours.
I mean, for an average,
Yeah.
for an average user, it's they're more.
Wow.